Okay, folks, it just doesn't happen. You know, um, talking about Jesus, it's something he said I think is so important. He said that what we should do is, he referred to himself as the rock of salvation. At least he has been referred to that way. And he said, those that fall on the rock, this cornerstone, he referred to himself as the cornerstone, will be broken to pieces. But those on whom the stone falls will be crushed into dust. So, what he was saying is far preferable to allow yourself to fall on the rock and be disillusioned and realize you've been wrong all along. Your thinking was totally screwed up. You didn't know up from down, but you're finally starting to get it. You know what I mean? That with all the knowledge and learning you've got, you've sought, and you finally get it, then what you're going to do is you're going to be broken to pieces. You're shattered because your reality is like, it's not what you thought it was. Your security was not in just having a gob of money and having a fat portfolio, because you might be dead at any moment. God's the only one you can trust with your security to give you a better place from here, to go up the evolutionary ladder and not down. To me, that's what it all comes down to. Is that you want to be on the right track and know that your values are proper. Like Jesus said, he says, store your treasure in heaven where neither rust nor moth destroy and thieves don't break in and steal. That's our only security, is knowing that God is a good and loving God, and that he will teach us good and right values, proper treasures, and that we can lean on him only and trust him only. And that if that means we're shattered, then that's a good state. He said that we must hate our lives in this world. What's the world? The system. A system that's being run by Satan, by evil. Because he referred to Satan as the prince of the world. Until Jesus returns, this is the prince of the world. And that's just a tough pill to swallow, but that's just the reality we're stuck in. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight for truth and righteousness and justice and stick up for the downtrodden. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. Whatsoever we do or fail to do for the least of men, we do or fail to do for Jesus. Everything comes back to the teachings of Jesus, But that we sure don't want to be crushed into dust. That wouldn't be a good state, okay? Because what's left? I mean, your molecules are so scattered that there's no substance. There's no essence to you. There's nothing that God can save. You got to go into the recycling heap. You've lost the light of your soul. Okay, Jesus said, let your light shine so before men that they will see your good deeds, and it will spur them on. It will be like a cancer, a good, positive thing. You want this fire for the Holy Spirit of God, the zest for truth and righteousness and justice and mercy and all good things. You want it to burn like a light in your soul. You want to be a lamp on a stand. Like he said, you don't hide a lamp under a bowl or a table. You put it on a stand where all men can see. And this is what we are to do. We are the salt of the earth, he said, the believers. And that if the salt loses its saltiness, if it becomes indifferent, let's say, passé and quiet and passive and whatnot, what good is it? It's good for nothing. It's lost its saltiness. You're not the salt of the earth anymore. You're good for nothing except to be thrown into the manure pile. Okay, that's the reality of it. That makes a lot of sense. He used a lot of parables and metaphors for saying things, but it all makes perfect sense. I mean, the greatest teachings I have ever received have come from Jesus and those that learn from Jesus. And there's a lot of great teachings in the Old Testament, but even King Solomon, who many have said is the wisest man that ever lived and all this, like Jesus said, he says, you heard this from Solomon, but one far greater than Solomon stands before you. Okay? Solomon in all his splendor, okay, could not compare. And it's so important that we get this. And I can think of some of the teaching of Solomon. I think, that really did fall short, because it was not nearly as clear and succinct as the teachings of Jesus. There was a lot of things that King Solomon said. I mean, there were some things that were very valuable to understand, but others that are a little difficult to swallow. But it just proves that Jesus' wisdom far supersedes, far transcends that of wisdom. And that we should really listen to what Jesus taught and really take it to heart and embrace it and write those teachings, that wisdom, on the tablets of our hearts And let that be our guide. When we are indecisive about something, we should ask God for help. Say, how do you want me to think about this thing? Because that's where sin starts. It starts in our heart and in our minds, and then it manifests itself physically. Okay, we're all sinners. We can't help it. Because a wrong thought is a sin. And it's like it's written, I believe the teachings of Paul, he said that every one of us sins every day in many ways. We can't help it. Okay, because you're not supposed, a bad thought's never supposed to come to your mind. But which one of us can stand here and say, I don't get funky thoughts. I don't get thoughts I don't want to identify with. I get them. I don't want them. You know, and I don't want to say anything that's displeasing to God. I don't want to sin with my mouth. It's written that every careless word we speak, we will be judged. We will give account for. We will answer for every careless word we have spoken. Another teaching of Jesus. So it's so imperative to get these things. That the action itself is just, that's the last phase in this whole thing. It started with a thought, a wrong thought, and that thought took on legs with the words, and then that took on, more depth with the actions being involved, and it became manifest that our sinful behavior became real. So the only hope is falling on God's grace. I'm not taking advantage of God's grace and mercy, but we need it. It's clearly written, we need the grace of God. And he needs it like this. It's a fail-safe. Okay, it's a way that God knows we're all going to fall. We're all very imperfect. We should strive for perfection, to be idealistic. But we're all going to fall, and we really need God's grace. And Jesus displayed that God's grace like no other in history ever did. That's why he earned the authority over all humanity, over all our affairs. He's going to judge the earth. This is the one that is going to be the judge. And he's going to decide, who lives and who dies on earth and in hell. I mean, life and death, death is just, going to hell would be death, I think. So to go to that unpleasant place that you don't want to be in would be a form of hell. So ultimately, this is the guy that's going to decide. He got authority. He died on the cross. He was willing to die for our sins, and he got that right. He's got all authority. He did not want to go to the cross and die. Who in their right mind would? What a horrible way to die. A painful crown of thorns on his head. From my understanding, they ripped his beard out. That's probably why so many Christian men shave today, because of what happened to Jesus. And maybe they know it intuitively. These kind of things have a way of, passing down. The idea of a man getting his beard pulled out, that's got to be among the most horrible things that could ever happen to you. And then to be hung on a cross with nails through your hands and your feet. My God, these people were psychopaths that did this kind of stuff. But these things happen. It's documented, that the crucifixions took place regularly. So Jesus gave us that grace, that mercy. Through this, he earned the right. It's like he paid some kind of a ransom for the right to judge us. And that he was going to be the best judge. Yes, he's the gatekeeper. Okay? And you couldn't imagine a better gatekeeper to the kingdom of heaven than Jesus Christ. It's that simple. So every one of us, I don't care what your faith is or you don't have faith, you can trust that Jesus Christ is unsurpassed in knowledge and wisdom and goodness and mercy, and that he loves us with an undying love, and that this really is someone we can trust. Okay? That's my point. And that we need to depend on his grace. In our weaknesses, his strength is perfected. There's that fail-safe again. And it's not taking it for granted. It's not taking advantage. It is taking advantage in a way, because we need it to be able to stand one day at a time. We need the grace of God. We need his forgiveness. We need to offer it to ourselves, and then we need to offer it to others. And just try to lift each other. Try to lift, and let God lift us to be decent human beings, to be better tomorrow than we are today. And to strive for righteousness and justice and all good things in this world. And to expose the fruitless deeds of darkness and have nothing to do with them. And all these things, he has given us all the ability. He gives us all the wherewithal if we turn to him to do these things. Anyhow, I'm going to end this video, and I wish the best to everybody, and you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again sometime.